Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Spark of Genius Flesh and Blood production. I'm joined by my co-creator, co-commentator, co-caster, co-compatriot on the bottom, Rob,
Hello.
and my name's Eric, and we're gonna be doing one more of these. This is gonna be the last POV draft session for POV draft review, I guess, for Outsiders because we are in. So we finished the first week of Rhodes, I think at the point of this first week of Rhodes for like non-European, non-APAC, so not the earlier ones, or about
Yep.
1 week in like the American season, essentially, give or take. And there's 2 weeks left, so we figured if anyone has like any drafts left, this will be the last hurrah for Outsiders. So
hmm
this is going to be a little bit interesting draft here. We can start it off.
Sure.
Definitely not one of my finest drafts, but the idea here is that we don't want to show like just like amazing drafts. We want to show like some of the earlier ones and like the learning process about what
Exactly.
cards are good
There's
and
more
what
to
you should
learn from
do.
drafts that like kind of go back and forth. You're not really sure what to pick right off the bat. You got to
Mm,
make decisions kind of on the spot. So we're seeing some
exactly.
nice stuff already. I saw a nice
We're seeing
infecting shot red.
this pack is super strong, and that's
Down,
actually
cut down
quite
to
bad.
size red.
It's
Yeah.
actually really quite bad for me, and you see so many good cards, which means that
Silent touch.
you can't take them all. Like
Yeah, you got to give
it's
your
the
opponents
issue.
some good stuff here. Yeah.
So I end up looking at this Death Touch. This is, by the way, this is an incorrect pick. I end up picking the blue Death Touch, but I can tell you right now that it's not what you want to be pack one, pick one. Red Death Touch is fine. The blue Death Touch, that
hmm
cut down to size, that's really what, or the Wreck Havoc
Mm,
is probably what I should be taking. Even the Threadbare Tunic,
yeah.
pretty good as a pack one, pick one, just because that is a very strong piece of equipment
Yeah. And
and
they're all
it's
very
very
open
good in a lot of different
pieces.
heroes.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
They're all very open. You can basically play them in every deck.
Yeah, Red Prowl is also very good, and there's other good like there's an Infect,
Yeah.
Yellow Infect. So there's like a lot of good like assassin stuff. Like there's a lot of good everything. I think the Blue Death Touch is incorrect. I think Cut Down to Size would have been good. Wreck Havoc would have been good, and Threadbeard Tunic would have been good.
hmm
To stay a little bit more open and see what everybody else is on the right, because I think you can literally the only thing that wasn't good in that pack is Ninja, right?
Yeah.
And that's like Death Touch is not a Ninja card. So in reality, you're picking up a weak-ish hybrid that's not
Exactly.
great. So
That
in
makes sense.
pack
Yeah.
one, pick two here.
I
Another
saw.
yellow prowl, blue prowl also. Um, those are
Pretty.
the two kind of standouts.
Yeah,
Now you see,
pretty
I would have wanted this
dead
pack.
pack almost.
I want this pack as my first pack. I want like one or two strong cards I can pick,
Yep.
and that's it, right? So you can see if you pick the prowl, you're kind of rewarded with the yellow prowl here. But I don't think I was ever super into picking the red prowl pack one, pick one.
hmm
Um,
Yeah. In terms
especially
of
because there were
stealth
so
cards, it's
many
not that great. You kind of do want to lean
other than Arachne.
towards. Oh yeah, of course. In Arachne, it's
Yeah,
fine, but the yellow is pretty much the sweet spot where you want to be. But
yeah.
blue is fine too in Azuri.
Yeah, I ended up picking up the Secret Hood just because there wasn't anything I really wanted to force at the moment. I think that's okay. I think it is important to note what you're passing here. So like the Withering Shots and the Prowls,
hmm
it's you gotta kind of think that you're probably creating a bunch of assassins on your left just based on
Mm. Oh, what you're
what
passing
you're
them,
passing to the left. Yeah, what you're passing to your left here.
right?
The other piece is so that was double. So there's a red, yellow, and blue prowl. So it's like half the prowls in the box essentially were in those two. Were in those two packs, right? So
Right.
another thing to consider is to see what the open lane is here, and this is going to be a very, very good kind of pivoting exercise here, right? Because the cards I'm picking, like blue Death Touch, eh. So here we see this foil red lace with Blood Rot.
No
I
one
know what you're
wanted it.
thinking.
Yep.
Exactly. This is the pack one, pick three. I mean, it is in the foil slot, I guess. So, right, it's not just bleed out is also another rare that was left in the pack.
hmm
Um, and I'm still not sold on Ranger. Also, I can remember in this particular case, I'm like, I probably created one or two Rangers on my left just based on what I was passing.
Right. Red infecting
Um,
shot, prime target,
Yellow Withering Shot, Red Infecting
withering
Shot,
shots too.
Red Virulent Touch for Riptide.
True.
I'm
Yeah.
going to be passing other Spire Sniping. I
You
end
took the
up
lace.
picking. I picked the lace, and this is where I'm pivoting because I think I'm just gonna cut it off, and that I'm just gonna try to force like assassins on my left,
Okay.
and I'm not seeing any crazy ninja stuff, right? So I think it's possible there's a
They're
ninja, at
on your
least one
right
ninja to my
side
right.
probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least one ninja to my right, because we saw no bonds, no red no red gust waves, like nothing
True.
super premium like that's passing by.
Yeah.
And so I think my two options here are I can slam some kind of ranger, and I could also grab like some more assassin cards and go that way. The issue is there's generally more assassin cards to begin with, and so
Right.
it's very hard to decide like if it's open. So here's pick 4.
Yeah.
You're seeing some arrows. You're seeing a yellow hurl, very good card. You're seeing a couple ninja cards, so it's kind of random here. That it seems like everything is still kind of open-ish,
Mm-hmm.
and that it might just be the like pack strength is pretty high to begin with. And so
Yeah, that could
my
be it. Yeah.
options here, realistically, if I want to try to go back to assassin, I think the yellow hurl is pretty reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Very very good card. It's also like an assassin ninja hybrid, so you can possibly whale it into ninja a little bit here if you wanted to. I ended up picking the cessation shot. I'm still not super convinced that ninja is open in any respect.
Yeah.
So I end up. Do I switch here? No. What am I switching to? No, I picked the sedation shot. I was pretty sure I picked
Right.
sedation shot here. Important to note, there's also a couple nice stealth cards coming by. The yellow wither, being quite good.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, there's a
I,
gust wave there, but it was yellow, so
Here's a
not
yellow.
the best one.
Yeah. So I see the
Um,
frailty trap. Um,
okay. Yeah.
I passed the keys. I passed 2 spire snipings, and I haven't
Yeah.
seen a red scout. So between going Azalea and going Riptide, the Frailty Trap is much better than Riptide because that thing always procs. Like proccing Frailty Trap's very easy,
Yeah.
right? Compared to some of the other traps, like the rare traps. And so I'm kind of hedging a little bit into there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Keeping the ranger cards with you and not giving them to the opponents that you kind of already maybe made more open to ranger,
yeah,
right? So it's
maybe I just cut them. Like they could be
yeah.
definitely going more on Azalea because I'd be passing Spire Sniping, so passing
Right.
some of the red stuff.
It's
Although
true.
I haven't
It's
really
true.
been passing much on the buff end, right? So they'd have to get the buff themselves.
Exactly. You took the lace, which is great. A
Hmm.
Merkmeyer coming through.
Yeah, Red Merkmire, great card.
Yep.
Actively good against things like Brush Off and Peace of Mind and Seekers. Like none of the prevention works against Merkmire. 0 for 4 blocks 3. Pretty happy
Yeah.
with it. I'm okay with the yellow also because you can, especially in Riptide, you can play like a buff, use the Riptide ability, a buff from hand, put the Merkmire in Arsenal, pay to flip, give it an aim counter, and the aim counter turns into a 4. So it turns on its breakpoint.
Right.
Whereas the red just turns into a 5. So here in the next pack, you
Ooh.
see Red
Red
Widowmaker.
Widowmaker. Yeah, very good in Azalea.
Very good in Azalea. Also fine in Riptide because it forces a 2-card block. The
Right.
key with Widowmaker that's not as good is that buffs don't do as much for it, especially the yellows and the
Mm,
blues, right?
yeah.
So whereas the yellows and the blues are very good in Azalea, not as good synergistically with buffs. Because what you're doing when you like pump a Widowmaker from 2 to 5, so now instead of 2 or 5, it's 5 or 8. So they're just gonna give you 2 cards. Like you're not
Mm,
really getting the value out of it. Whereas before, if they gave you 1 card, the card itself is gonna be buffed by 3,
that's true.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's anti-synergistic with buffs. So that's why
Absolutely.
Widowmaker is much better with Azalea, just because the dominate really forces it through. Whereas Riptide is like, well, the idea is you play a buff. Oh, I pick up the Skybound because it's literally the only the pick here. It's just
Right.
red Skybound, just like very powerful red arrow. It's 6 off the aim counter, and you could buff it to 9 and give it an on hit from like Lace or something like that.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
Sorry, where was I? Oh, the Widowmaker. Yeah, so that's why
Right.
Widowmaker is it's
Yeah.
fine in Riptide, but like you really don't want to be buffing it. Like you really just want to be playing like Seek
I mean, you
Horizon,
can probably
putting
like
something on top.
fire a couple arrows that turn.
It's really good as a secondary arrow after Falcon Wing,
Yeah, I was
right?
good. You're
So
right.
you
Falcon
essentially,
Wing. I was looking for the name and I totally blanked on it. Yeah.
yeah,
So Falcon
no, that's
Wing, really
fair.
good in Riptide for sure. Probably better in
Yeah,
Riptide than it is for Azalea.
much better because the go again actually matters quite a bit, right? So
Hmm.
what you're able to do with Falcon Wing is, um, once you play the buff, or once you play the buff, it does a lot for Falcon Wing because the aim counter gives it +1, right? So you play a
Right.
0 for 3,
So you,
something like that.
yeah, you can reach the
Load the
break
Falcon
point.
Wing. Exactly. And you're reaching the breakpoint of 7 in that case,
Right.
off of +3. So I'm super. This is my wheel, right? So this is the wheel pack. So that's the
Okay.
Virulent Touch I saw and I saw the Yellow Infect and the Red
Ooh.
Sedation.
Yeah,
So
very happy to see
now,
these come back. Actually.
now I know Riptide's open, right? Because you see the Red Virulent Touch, you see a Red Sedation shot, like
Right.
Riptide's open, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The issue is I don't love drafting towards Riptide. Like
Okay.
based on what I've experienced, I picked the Sedation over the Virulent Touch. If the
Just to stay
Sedation shot was
open.
yellow, yeah, in case I do see a bunch more Azalea stuff in pack 2, pack 3, then I can at least go towards Azalea.
Right.
Um, Here you see like blue scout, blue prowl,
Okay,
yellow
well,
withering
yellow
shot.
withering is quite good.
Yeah, because these were the arrows that was passing, right? So we know the red infecting shot is gone, but we know the
Yeah,
yellow withering shot came back. And
yeah.
that's a very important thing to note. So you know there's a ranger to your left. Right? Now we're going to figure out in pack 2 whether that ranger is Riptide or Azalea. Because if we
Hmm.
see a whole bunch of scouts,
Just
like
come in
red scouts,
from
fire, like
the
stuff like
left
that,
hand
fire
side.
sniping,
Yeah.
yeah, coming from my left, then you know that that person's probably on Riptide and is probably getting more traps. If you see a bunch of traps coming, Virulent Touch,
Mm,
Falcon Wing, they're probably on Azalea and they're picking up those other buffs, right? I pick up the Seeker's Legs here. I'm quite happy with Seeker's Legs. Blue Skybound Shot, also nice blue 3 block,
hmm
usable card. The key here is that the Seeker's equipment is much better in Azalea, obviously. So again, I'm a little bit hedging. There really wasn't much else in that pack either. The Seeker is generally what you want to do with Riptide. The Toxic Tips are like kind of the best equipment you want to see
hmm
in your arm slot, and then everything else is kind of whatever. Threadbare Tunic is very very good also,
Right.
which is why that pack one pick one Death Touch is like, if I end up in Riptide, cool. Blue Death Touch actually pretty decent in Riptide, right? It is a break point, but
Yeah.
because what you do is you just play whatever Riptide in the. Oh, I got the masks last pick, which is super random because I don't think I had a headpiece,
No,
and
this
it
is
is
a pretty
usable.
good pick. Yeah, yeah.
I think it is an Assassin Ranger headpiece because the Assassin
I
Ninja
think
is the
so.
other mask, is
Yeah,
the
I
attack
think
reaction
we can
mask.
probably confirm now, but I'm pretty sure it's for both assassin
Yeah,
and ranger.
yeah. So here we've got like some pretty decent arrows. Like we're not doubling up on equipment here. Oh, Seeker's Head. I picked up the Seeker's Head early because I was trying to stay open, so that was a little bit
Ah,
awkward. But
okay.
now I have the choice because I do like the armor versus the Opt. The
Yeah,
Opt is better in Azalea, and the armor is better than Riptide. So it
yeah.
really depends because I'm not locked in yet. So I think the key thing so far is that knowing your pivot signals, right? Like that it's the lace coming pick 3 means that you have at least 2 people on your right that are not in ranger because you cannot, like, lace with blood rot, you cannot pass that card if you want to play ranger. Like, it just doesn't make any sense,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
It's a
Although
very very clear
I
signal.
guess you are trying to stay more open early on, but the card is just so good.
I think it's
It's a
too
tough
powerful
decision. Yeah,
because it's effectively 5 because the blood rot is 2, right? So
yeah.
like,
If it hits, yeah,
yeah, if it hits, but like that's the thing, you're forcing, it's a 0 for 3, it's not hard to play. Like,
yeah.
so here we have pack 2. We're passing to our right now.
Mm-hmm.
The Come to Fight Red's actually pretty reasonable. Honestly, I could probably slam that pick right now.
Yep.
We do see yellow spire something, yellow withering shot, another frailty trap, and a
Oh,
lace with inertia. So we're spoiled, and another threadbare tunic. We're very spoiled for choice here.
yeah. There's a lot of
So
stuff.
I'm debating here. Come to Fight and lace are both good in both. So they're good in Azalea and they're good in Riptide, right?
Yeah,
Come to
and come
Fight
to
blocks for 3,
fight.
cost 1.
Yeah, exactly. It also it's a generic, right? So you can play this in other
Mhm.
decks as well. Whereas for the Lace of Inertia, you are locking yourself more into Ranger, but you're pretty much set on
Correct.
Riptide or Azalea at this point. So Lace is just, it's excellent in both, and
Yeah.
it is cheaper.
I
Blocks
am
too, though.
thinking here, I'm like, what are the odds that either of these wheel? And I think the answer is neither of them are going to wheel. So it's kind of
Right.
like, I think the Withering Shot might wheel, or some of the other cards in this pack will
Just
wheel.
come to fight.
I end up picking the Come to
Um.
Fight just because I have one lace and I like 3 blocks more in Riptide because I tend to go a little bit thicker and blocking more.
Right. There was also the cut down to size that we saw too, but not really a Riptide
Yeah.
pick. It is mostly for Azuri. Ooh, a
So here we have
Toxicity
the red
Red.
toxicity. Now, so
Better
it's
in
like,
Azalea,
okay,
I
so
guess, but
is there an Azalea on my left? And here's where I was sitting here and thinking, I'm like, I see both the trap, but then I see the Wayfinder's crest, which is like peak Azalea, and then I see like blue withering. So now I'm sitting here, I'm like, I honestly I should pick this trap up. I should pick up the frailty trap here. And the reason I should pick up the frailty trap is that I think I'm solidly in Riptide at this point. Like I don't really think there's a reason to dodge both frailty traps, and like I still don't know, like, I think my opening picks have kind of led to be a little bit too awkward to go into Azalea at this point,
okay.
unless some crazy shit pops up here.
Yeah.
And here's some crazy shit that just popped up here.
Lace with
So we see the
frailty.
lace with
Come to
frailty,
fight.
and now I'm just curious if I'm the only ranger in the pod because this is a pack 2, pick 3, pick 4. What is this? Pick
I
3 or
think
pick
it's
4?
like
One of
pick
those
four
two.
now. Yeah.
And so I'm
And the
like,
Falcon Wing red. Amazing too.
now I'm thinking it's like, did that person just ignore my ignore my red infecting shot? Did he just pick it and just pivot out a ranger? Like I don't know what's happening with this
Right,
draft. There's also
right.
the red come to fight too.
Yeah.
So the key is lace with frailty is better than red come to fight because frailty is better. The inertia is not better than the come to fight in my
Okay.
opinion. As far as the effect, I don't think it's at frailty is always disruptive.
Right.
Uh, Here's another red falcon wing. So
It's
I'm
true.
like,
It's true.
there's a threadbare tunic. I am really spoiled for choice. There's a red bonds that's going to the right, by the way, but at this point, I don't really care.
Hmm.
So the threadbare
Yeah.
between the threadbare and the falcon wing, and I've seen three threadbares pass at this point, right? Like I've opened two threadbares.
So I guess you're
Um,
pretty sure that it'll come back to you potentially.
it's such a strong equipment. It's especially for ranger. It's so
Yeah.
good with ranger because what you're able to do is like if you have a um if you have a hand that you just absolutely have to block their damage and you have an arrow in arsenal at one cost, you just literally block with your hand and your
Right.
threadbare is worth at least 4 or 5, like a red 1 for 5 or a yellow 1 for 4,
Mm-hmm.
just off the threadbare tunic, and you're able to like get 3 block out of like that extra card you're blocking
It's
with.
true.
So I
Yeah, that's quite good.
think I'm struggling here. So I'm gonna show everyone kind of what I have at this point, mainly for the stream. I don't do this during an RTN. This is mainly just to remind everyone what I have.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I end up picking the tunic, and the reason is because I think Falcon Wings get a wheel.
Yeah.
Like,
There's a good chance.
it,
You've seen two pass
it's
by so far.
yeah, like
You know the right's
I
been
think
passing you a lot of ranger stuff early on, right? So
yeah, the
it's
right, the left. I mean, I might just get more
all
Falcon Wings
sides,
pack
top,
three.
bottom.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
we got a bipartisan Ranger vote going on here, so I
Mm-hmm.
think we're gonna get enough of those, and that I really like Tunic and Ranger. Like
Yeah.
Threadbare Tunic and Ranger is peak. Like it's very good. It's very good in all decks, but
Yeah.
specifically even better in Ranger. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
just because of that ability to block with everything and still come back out at 1 for 5.
Exactly.
Same
With
idea,
the
but like if you
potential
have
on hit too.
with a potential on fit. The key is that like any deck can do this with Spring Load, like a red Spring Load in Arsenal, block with your
Right.
hand,
Right.
use Threadbare, come in 1 for 5 because you have no cards in hand, but it has no on hit. And so if you're
Mm.
able to get like a red Withering
Infecting
shot,
shot,
it's
withering
dirty.
shot.
Yeah,
Really good
affecting
picks for
shot.
this. Okay, so we're seeing a lot of
So
assassin stuff kind of come back
so
here.
and this is important to note. We're seeing no ninja stuff.
Hmm.
So the one thing we are sure about is ninja is definitely, even though
Yeah.
we're passing the red bonds, everything else in ninja is gone. There's definitely at least 2 Benjis in the pod, that's for sure.
Hmm.
We saw no twin twisters. What am I picking there? Blue
Blue
rabble.
ravenous rabble.
All right, that's just a mispick. There should be yellow skybound for sure. So
Okay.
don't do that.
Don't do that. Yeah. Yeah.
But you see the yellow isolate. You see red
Oh,
stealth cards.
there's
Oh,
withering
oh,
and
look at this.
infecting as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I picked the infecting, and the reason I picked the infecting is because I already have
Lace with
yellow withering
inertia, I
and a
think.
lace with frailty. I have a lace with
It was
frailty.
frailty. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a frailty and one blood rot.
Okay. Oh,
There's
frailty
another
trap.
frailty trap. Oh, that's the other reason
That's
because
really good.
I have double frailty trap too.
Okay, you got toxic tips here now too, so that's a tough choice.
So I'm reminding everybody that I do not have an arm piece, essentially beforehand.
Casually cheating.
Casually cheating, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, the
Um,
local armory event is fine.
yeah, and in a regular event, you just remember, right? You don't really need to worry about that. I'm just like counting to see how many picks I have left.
Yeah.
So I ended up passing the. What did I pass?
What'd you
Am I
take
right?
again?
I took the toxic tips.
You took tips. Okay, so then you passed the lace with inertia. Not lace. Frailty trap, I think. Was it
Yeah, I
frailty
passed the
trap?
frailty trap.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have 2 already. 3 would be cool, but
Ooh,
like,
boulder is nice.
yeah, but the red spring load's better. But I should be picking red spring load here. So boulder trap is like, it can be good, but like power greater than base. It
Yeah,
triggers often enough,
yeah. It
but
probably
red spring load is so good
yeah. It won't trigger against
in
ninja.
Riptide.
Probably it'll likely trigger against Azalea Riptide.
Mhm.
Against the Zuri, not likely.
Yeah.
Um,
So
yeah.
okay, the reason why I was double checking, I was reading Widowmaker's text
Okay.
to see that if you put a -1 off the boulder trap with the equipment, can they still add that card to block to count as 2 blocking pieces for Widowmaker? That's
Ah.
what I was checking right there.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and it does. It's still like a 0 block counts as a defending card, right? It
Right,
doesn't
right.
as long as it has a blocking value in
Yeah.
the bottom
So it
right,
can't be
you
like
can
an
block
instant
with it.
with no value, right? You can't block with
Yeah,
that.
like the prevention doesn't work. Yeah, prevention doesn't work, but as long as it can legally block. So I end up picking the boulder trap
Okay.
purely because I'm Riptide. I think the red spring load is better, especially because I have threadbare tunic. So it just
Right.
gives me an extra thing to be able to fire off,
Yeah.
with that extra resource.
Yeah, Boulder's nice, but again, it might not
It's
trigger,
very close
and you
because
might be
if it
sitting on it for a
triggers,
bit.
it's so good. It's a
It is
zero
really
for
good.
5.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So this pick here is just withering shot. Spire sniping would be cool if I was like even considering because
Mm-hmm.
oh, Eric done goofed there. He
Spire
picked up the
sniping.
spire sniping. What?
So
Why would I pick up spire
the
sniping?
yellow withering is probably the choice, right?
100%. I have no idea why I picked up spire sniping. I might have been going too fast and not paying attention.
Yeah.
I might have
So,
just not seen the yellow withering.
but we know now that for sure that the
It
Azalea
doesn't. It
hedge is
doesn't
kind of
matter.
it won't really matter as
It,
much.
it's yeah. So you can see. Notice how we saw 0 scouts scout the peripheries.
Mm,
We've seen 0 scouts pass by. We opened one. Maybe we saw a blue scout, but we've seen 0 red scouts pass. That
yep.
leads me to believe there's probably an Azalea, and they might be picking the red scout over like some other stuff that we've been seeing. But
Mm-hmm.
other decks might just be picking up the scouts, even though they're not ranger, which is whatever. Oh my god, you see yellow. It's kind of wild to see those as your last 2 picks. Like, here's a god tier Arachne card and a god tier Azuri card. Because like
Right.
yellow isolate is exactly what Azuri wants,
Yep.
and yellow prowl. So if I didn't pivot to ranger, I think I would have still had a pretty good assassin deck.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is super interesting. Uh, because it's usually not the case because they share a lot of cards.
Exactly. So
So
assassin
you
cards
don't
get
usually
picked up from
see.
all three classes. However,
Mhm.
there are more of them just due to the fact that they share these classes. So I guess that it's kind of balanced in that way, right? So you're likely to see them
Yeah,
towards the end, but the good ones are likely picked up quicker.
exactly. So there's a couple random picks that I've done so far that are probably like strictly incorrect. Like the pack one pick one
Spire
probably
sniping.
shouldn't. Yeah, Spire Sniping should be yellow withering shot. I think the Seeker's Hood was fine in a vacuum. I think there's probably better picks for a pack one pick two, but I was just like very question mark on that pack.
Right, right,
Um, and then pack one pick one probably should just be like red cut down to size, honestly, because it's just like
right.
a better overall card than Death Touch.
Yeah.
But it ended up working out, I guess. But I don't know, probably just a better pick.
Yeah, a lot of stuff came back
Um,
to you anyway, which is great. A lot
I
of
see
good
yellow
stuff
infecting
wheeled.
shot.
Yep.
See,
This
right,
is
so that's a good
pack
card.
three, pick one,
Pack
right?
three. Yep, pack three,
Pick
pick
one.
one. We
Okay.
see double twin twisters, so all the ninjas to my left are
I'll
gonna
be
be pretty happy to see
very
twin
happy. They'll
twisters.
rejoice. Yeah. Red spring
Yeah,
load.
really.
You got some good choices here.
Yeah, it's funny. Actually, this is an interesting thing to see. If this was pack one, pick one, I'm actually super happy with just picking up yellow infecting shot, which
Mm,
seems kind of weird because there's literally nothing. I'm gonna pick it up now, obviously, but
yeah,
like there's nothing else for Ranger in this
it's
pack.
true. Yeah.
Like the yellow Merkbire, like I think anyone to my left is just gonna be like,
It's
oh,
really
okay,
like night and day compared to your pack one, pick one, and pack three, pick one. Like there are so few choices in
yeah.
this pack.
And I'm not giving away any like crazy power cards.
Yeah,
As
exactly.
far as like when I was before, I
Yeah.
was giving away some crazy power cards here. So picking up the yellow infecting shot, pretty good. I'll be pretty happy with all the infecting shots and withering shots at this point. So pick 2, we have red feisty locals, pretty okay card
Mm,
for like closing out games. Yellow cut down, yellow
yeah.
wither,
Oh,
red
yeah. Red
surging, red
surging is
infecting
amazing.
shot.
Not for you, but for the ninjas to your right.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess it's going to
I'm
your
gonna
left,
lace from
right?
inertia.
So you'll
This is
be
going to
getting
my
another
left,
good
yeah.
one, yeah. Lace?
So
Ooh. Lace over infecting. It's a tough choice.
I I think you pick infecting. I think the
Yeah.
reason is because
Riptide
you
over
already
Azalea.
have. Yeah, it's also just like you have one lace. Sorry, you have 2 laces. You have a frailty and a blood rot.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, one lace with frailty, one blood rot. You have a red come to fight. Like you don't need buffs as much as Azalea does,
Yeah.
and you just really just want a shit ton of arrows,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You do want cards that are enable Riptide to get go again, but you also have traps that do that too, right? Like if you play a trap on their turn from hand and you have no arsenal, you can Riptide off that trap too. So not like super crucial to have all the buffs all the time.
Mm, right.
Um,
Yeah.
it's also playing buffs from Arsenal is less good than in Azalea. It's good in
Ah.
Azalea because you can play the buff
Yeah.
and then you could
Load
load
arrow.
with Azalea, play the Azalea, get the Crow's Nest trigger. Massive many faces coming. It's kind of wild at this point.
Mm.
Seek Horizon, very good in Riptide. Looking for
Yeah.
scrap also good, but not really in Riptide. Red looking for scrap very very good. If I was still an assassin, holy moly, my deck would have actually been pretty good. Also,
Right.
a sneak a snack, Wayfinder's Crest,
Ooh, Wayfinder's
uh,
bad.
Yellow Widowmaker is probably the pick here. It's still like quite good because
Yep.
it like forces a 2 card block
Exactly. Yeah.
unless you want to just take free damage.
It's on a 3/2, right? So it doesn't really matter
Mm.
if it's not a breakpoint because you're forcing two
Mhm.
cards regardless.
Do I take Skybound here? I
Blue
guess I
Skybound.
do.
Maybe you're
I think
hurting
the
for
reason
blues a little bit.
I think the reason is because at this point I don't think I saw as much value in the Widowmaker because I already had a couple Widowmakers.
Okay.
I didn't want to have like a shit ton of Widowmakers, but in reality, I think you should.
Mm.
I think picking up extra Widowmakers is good just because it's like
It still commands two
it's a 2 card
cards.
block.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you block with a card, you're taking 3.
Yeah.
If it's a 3 block,
So you
right?
might as well not block, right? Or is it one or less that triggers the Widowmaker, or is it exactly one? I forget. I think
Less than 2.
it's less than two. So okay, yeah. So you better block with two cards. It's like no other option really.
Yeah, you can. I get like I'll take your armor. That's cool. That's fine. I'll take a piece of armor and a card. It still works for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, off a non-on hit, great. I take that's incorrect. Don't take
Mm.
the red Spire Sending. There was a red Murkmire, and there was
Okay.
a
Was there
there was another
Death,
card before the red
Deathly
Murkmire.
maybe?
No,
I kind of missed it.
let's go back for a
Okay.
sec.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you see the inertia trap, you see the Murkmire grapnel. So
Okay.
either of those are pretty good picks.
Yeah. And
Don't take
Red
Spire
Spire is
Sending.
not really that premium anyway, right? You prefer the ones that can pitch for more because I think the
Mhm.
ability is the same. It just takes one extra damage or deals one extra
It's just
damage.
damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't even give you anything on a name counter. So like it's half of
Okay.
Riptide's abilities be able to get into the arsenal, flip with Castaway,
And
give it the aim
give
counter for free
aim
and +1.
counters. Yeah, that's true.
So in that respect, Berkmire is better because it's a
Okay.
0 for 5 off the aim counter. Spire Slam's a 1 for 5,
Mm-hmm.
and then to give it to give it a +1,
Yep.
it turns into the same card. Murkmire is a 1 for 5, but
Okay.
not being able to use Seekers, Peace
Yep.
of Mind, Brush Off on it, much better than Spire Sniping doing nothing. I
Right.
mean, like
Right.
maybe making you rearrange your cards.
It won't matter as
Skybound
much.
Shot,
Yeah.
yeah, Skybound Shot pretty good here because 1 for 5 arrow, be
Yep.
1 to 6
Off the aim counter.
off the aim counter. Two could be a 1 for 9 off a lace. You know.
Yeah. That's
Also, because I
good.
have the toxic tips, all of these Skybounds become way better.
Right.
Right? Because the toxic tip turns it into an affecting shot or a
True.
withering shot or whatever, and they don't know which one it is because I
Yeah,
don't
because you
have to
can.
until it hits.
Yeah.
I can choose.
Exactly.
Um, so toxic tips makes all your skybound shots way better, and so that's why I really like it in Riptide specifically. Azalea, you don't need it because you force through with Dominate and you just buff your cards to like Kingdom Come, so it doesn't really matter. But
Right. Yeah.
I think in this case, still definitely like the deck's coming together. It's still
Mm-hmm.
um still some errors, right? Like there's still some very obvious cards that in hindsight, this is the reason you do these POVs and the reason why we're reviewing them, right? Because
Yeah.
looking through drafts really helps you like the amount of competitive advantage you get with drafting skill matters a lot. Like yes, you still have to play the deck well, but if your deck is just much better, it's easier to play it
Yeah.
well
Yeah. You're
because the
right.
weaker your deck is, the less options you actually have. A little bit of an earthquake going on here. I'm not sure why it's shaking so much, but
Earthquakes
everyone's
in
probably just
BC.
moving this table. Everyone's just
Yeah.
probably moving the table.
But yeah, you're,
Um,
you're totally right because you give yourself such an advantage of having a good deck into the
mhm,
field that the skills you use to draft the deck will probably matter maybe more than actually being able to play the deck well, right? And being able to read what's
mhm.
open is really important because if you just kind of willy-nilly pick the best cards, you'll be stuck with a bad deck. And then even a good player can't really pilot a bad deck to a win.
Sure. So in this case, I should be picking up Scout. I'm probably gonna pick up the Spire side because for some reason I
You
think
just
I'm
like
an
spires today.
Azalea. I'm not really sure
Yeah,
why on earth you would pick it over Scout.
right. Oh,
Okay,
you're
at
coming back
least
to it.
I think I really didn't like the fact that it was yellow. And then I'm
Okay.
kind of looking at Peace of Mind because I have Seeker's equipment. So Red Peace of Mind is actually like a pretty good pick here. I actually don't
Mm,
mind with the amount of Seeker's equipment I have.
right.
Because it helps into Azalea, which is not a good matchup for Riptide usually.
Mm,
Uh, but on the flip side, I have a lot of traps. I have, I think, 4 traps at this point. I should have 5 with Inertia. Oh, so there's
okay.
that Falcon Wing I knew was coming back, but there's the yellow defecting
Good
shot. So I'm like,
prediction.
goddamn, why can't you be on? Why can't you
Why
be a
why
different
couldn't they
pick?
have made the decision easier for you and not giving you too many good cards? At least there's a good
Yeah.
chance it'll come back. Well, although I don't really
That's not
know.
wheeling.
Yeah,
That's not
yeah,
wheeling.
it wouldn't
There's
wheel
not enough
twice.
cards.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
There's not enough
Yeah.
cards.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you can't even get a second wheel. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this an
So
eight person draft? Do you remember how many people?
I think it's probably an 8-man pod
Okay.
or close to it. Maybe 9, 8 or 9, one of those two.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Um, so Falcon Wing over Infecting Shot. I think Red Falcon Wing is better.
Yeah.
In Riptide specifically. Otherwise, it's probably Infecting Shot. Infecting Shot is still really good, and it's a yellow, which is like almost as good as a red in this case.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Because you still get the breakpoint off the buff, off the 0 for 3 buff, or the 1 for 3 buff, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I think for that reason, I'm just like kind of coming around on Infecting Shot because I have some buffs. I don't have a ton, but I do have two laces and a come to fight. That I am able to pump a little bit. But here I'm just kind of thinking about, is that really enough to warrant the free go again on the Falcon Wing? Because the Falcon Wing really allows you to go extra wide.
Exactly.
Right. And that's kind of the key to playing big Riptide hands.
True. Because otherwise it's difficult to play out a full hand if you don't have the go again built in.
So ideally, like the play off a 4-card hand without Arsenal is you want to play one of your traps from hand on their turn, activate the trap, ping him for 1, load the Falcon Wing, pitch put the Falcon Wing, give the aim counter, come in for 4 go again, and then load with Barb Castaway with your last floating, and then fire your other off a blue, and then fire your other 1 cost, and then you're coming in for 9.
Maybe another 5,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you're coming in for 9 effective, and you got the ping off Riptide. That's the like ideal turn, and Falcon Wing really enables you to do that.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Cut down to size yellow.
Yellow cut down.
I mean, Peace of Mind yellow. It's okay.
Bad.
It's okay. Yeah.
Like you could Falcon Wing it to cut down to size. It's pretty reasonable. So if they don't block Falcon Wing, they just like have to deal with cut down to size.
It's true, and it costs 2, so 1 blue will afford that. It's true.
Yeah, 1 blue will afford it. Now we're just picking up chaff at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
We're just kind of.
Yeah, it's basically whatever comes through the mill. I think your deck has really done all it needs to do. So yellow Widowmaker, that's fine.
It came on the wheel. It was kind of nice because I think I was considering that.
Yeah.
Earlier in the pick.
Right, we're talking about commanding 2 blocks for a yellow Widowmaker still, right? So it's still fine. Yeah.
Pretty reasonable. It's just funny on how anti-synergistic it is with buffs and the fact that Ranger likes buffs so much.
It is true.
I'm pretty happy to see.
True. Yeah.
It's so late in the draft.
Red
freewheeling, really great. Really great card for your last pick, especially in Riptide. Like Riptide can use it super well. Yeah, you can it's the same idea as cut down to size, right? But you can do it off a yellow. You don't need the 2 costs, it's just a 1 cost.
Right. Yeah, so here I just pulled up the final deck. Quite a good deck, honestly.
So if you're looking at like kind of, if you want to like nitpick here, right? Obviously you have double headpiece, kind of awkward. But your Tunic Seeker's Legs Toxic tips, exactly what you want to see in Ranger in general. Now, even in Azalea, we did pass by 2 Wayfinder's Crest because I think yeah, I actually don't know why there was so. I guess Ranger was like decently open in general.
Yeah,
but the mask and the Seeker's Hood. Yeah, so the 1 extra, because the Seeker's Hood was an early generic pick, and then the mask ended up being like pack 1 last pick or pack 2 last pick.
It might have been. It was last pick. I think it was pack 2 last pick. Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't really our choice. Like we didn't actively pick that card, so it's probably another chaff card we might have not been able to use. Period. But in this case, like you can still block with it. It's better in some matchups.
Sure.
Better in most matchups. I think I just gotta run it on most matchups because unless it's a possibly Benji for like turn 1, where you can just like pitch it and just like block 2 off of it, or prevent 2 or whatever. Right. So it's not too bad. As far as the arrow quality, pretty happy with the arrow quality. So you see a lot of good red arrows. You see a lot of good traps. Now, the trap situation is quite important for various matchups in Riptide. So the frailty traps are very, very good. I think we could have gone up to 3 frailty traps at some point. These are so like your kind of your weird matchups into like things like Ninja, especially Benji, where you just really can't block. Frailty trap is key, right? Because you're able to put it in your arsenal and then frailty trap on them, and then all their stuff.
It's like insanely good against Ninja.
Yeah, and then Katsu's good in general because you just play from hand or whatever, and then eventually Benji is going to fire something that's bigger that is blockable, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
it is quite good frailty trap in general. And it's just very easy to ping. So traps are just very good into Benji because you start at 17 as Benji, right? So each trap does even more.
true.
I think the inertia trap is would have been a good pickup also. So you would have had a boulder trap, an inertia trap, two frailty traps, and possibly a third one. So we could have been on like 5 to 7 traps essentially, which is quite good, quite strong.
Yeah,
The red spire sniping should have just been yellow withering shot or whatever. I think yellow withering shot was what it was.
yellow withering. Yes, I believe
Yeah.
so. Yeah, yeah.
Two lace, blood rot, and we technically could have gone two lace with inertia and then
Right.
a lace with blood rot, but I
Not
think
as
it's a bit overkill.
important in Riptide,
No,
especially.
no,
So
important is Azalea.
yeah,
Important is
exactly.
Azalea for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But Riptide, it's only it's a 2 block, which isn't as great, and the main purpose of it is really to trigger Riptide to be able to put something in your
To
arsenal.
get an arrow out. Yeah,
Yeah, and again, I don't have that many Falcon Wings just because I was passing a lot of the early ones because I didn't think I was going to be in Riptide in the first place.
yeah. I mean, it's a
Um,
pretty hard card to pick early because your Azalea, it's not that great because you can't load that frequently and you can't really utilize it to its
hmm,
max potential. But if you're picking it, you're pretty much hedging into Riptide at that point. And who wants to be that closed off early on, right? I think there were better picks than the Falcon Wing for sure.
yeah, I mean, I would have been okay with some bet like Spire Sniping. The two yellow Spire Sniping is pretty awkward. Like I would have been
Yeah,
happy with other arrows. Still okay because you can add buffs to them, I guess, like Lace and Toxic Tips and stuff like that. But we do have like the yellow infecting, yellow sedation, or I think two yellow infecting, yellow sedation, yellow withering. So we have
yeah,
a pretty good selection of yellow arrows, some good blue arrows. We have that death touch, which is still pretty good at 4 because it is still a breakpoint.
yeah. True.
And
Yeah.
then we see some pretty beefy red arrows here. So it's an okay. I think I ended up 2-1 on this deck.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I think if I was able to actually like change those 4 to 5 picks I mentioned, I think there was a good possibility I could have 3-0'd with this deck.
Mm,
Um, just because like I felt that in the game I lost, I just kind of ran out of steam, and like I don't really like Boulder Trap honestly that much. It's
hmm.
just like it's too.
Yeah.
It doesn't get procced nearly as much as things like Frailty
Exactly.
Trap.
Exactly. Its main, I guess, purpose is in CC when you can side it in effectively into a lot of the matchups that are not necessarily an outsiders, right? An outsiders, you're
Yeah.
really just targeting Ranger. I think that's it. I mean, you can target not Azuri, but sorry, the other assassin, Arachne. You can target Arachne because he has reactions
Hmm.
from hand.
Yeah.
But that's only like
I
a third of
also
the heroes, really.
yeah, I also think inertia is just a little bit better because I think the inertia token does like prevent a bunch of weird plays, whereas Boulder Trap getting the -1 on the armor is like if they have armor and that armor hasn't been used, like you're asking a lot, right? Whereas inertia is just like this can like screw someone's turn, right? If they were trying to arsenal
Yeah.
at the end of their turn and they have like a dead card in hand and they're just like, okay, well, I guess this one card I kept for arsenals like gonna actively go back to the
Exactly.
bottom.
And blocking with armor
Um,
anyway is not that realistic in draft because
mm,
they're usually blade break anyway. So you don't really want to give them up like toxic tips, for example. Like you're never gonna block with it because the effect is so good, and that's the case for most of the
well,
equipment, right?
yeah,
Well, I won't say never, but it's more
you could
likely you're
block
gonna
with
use
it,
the
but
effect. Yeah, you can, you can.
yeah, in different scenarios, yeah, you are correct. So I do think like the inertia was just kind of better, and I think the boulder trap pack had like a good arrow in it. I should have picked the arrow.
Right.
I think feral tree trap. I think blood rot trap's really good for assassin, and that is a not a fun match. It's not a particularly uh, difficult matchup per se, but they have a lot of 3 blocks, so they could just fatigue you. Whereas Ninja is it's harder to fatigue Riptide as Ninja. It's just not really as easy because you just don't usually have as many 3 blocks because you don't have many 3 blocks cards in your pool in general.
True.
Um, and that you block with those blue 3 blocks and it's gonna be harder for you to pitch for Kadachi kind of thing. So
Yep.
I do think the blood raw trap is also pretty. I don't think we saw any, but if we would have, blood raw trap's also good. I think it goes like frailty trap, and then
Blood
blood
rot.
rot / inertia trap. I think they're both very similar, but I think frailty trap is definitely number 1, and then it would be the other two, and then kind of obviously his majestic traps. If you can grab one, grab
That's
one.
true. We haven't seen any.
Um,
Yeah, actually, have we seen any Majestics at all? I
no, I
can't
don't think
remember
so.
seeing a single Majestic. Yeah,
Nope.
people
People must
value
have picked them
picking.
up.
Yeah,
They could have just been like good for their deck.
they
Like
could
I'm
have
not
been.
really sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Anyways, so
funny.
this
Normally you'd
was
see one, but anyway, yeah,
yeah, pretty funny how we ended up on Riptide as the last POV here, but
yeah,
I thought make it a little bit spicy, so show everybody that there's definitely like a lot of key decision making points
yeah.
in the drafting process. And if you like this kind of content, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. We will be doing some Monarch POVs. Will be the next set, just because
That's what Nationals is going to be based off of.
Nationals, but also for the July for the pre-release events for Dusk Till Dawn, those
Ah,
War of the Monarch events, those are going to be Monarch draft.
mm,
So if you want to do well and get those cold foil Vinsets and Prisms, we'll be doing some for that,
absolutely.
and Nats obviously, and also Skirmish. The next season of Skirmish is confirmed to be Blitz, Monarch draft, or Precon
Wow,
Blitz,
they're really
which
bringing back the Monarch draft.
we're really going
Wow,
in there for Dusk Till
lots of
Dawn here.
leftover
So
product probably.
wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Anyways,
Yeah.
for everyone watching the world, from wherever you're watching the world, have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Bye for now.